All right, so what am I talking about? All of this, what am I talking about? Get past this. Back to Dr. Wills. Here's what happened. When he analyzed ribosomal RNA from bacteria sent to him, taken from boiling mud and from volcanic areas where they had high sulfur, where things don't normally live, he found that these cells, even though they were prokaryotic and only had 5 parts, were extraordinarily different than the bacteria you stain every day. Escherichia coli, Staphylococcus aureus, and all those are called the true bacteria. And these bacteria, they come from very bizarre environments. Now, I'm not talking about my apartment. I'm talking about these bacteria come from, they live in boiling water in hot springs at Yellowstone National Park. They live in the Dead Sea, where it is so salty that if you fell in, all the water would rush out of you, and to kill you, to drown you, we'd have to tie rocks to you, because you will float. There's so much salt in that water. These bacteria live in battery acid, sulfuric acid. When rain drips through a high brown sulfur coal mine, by the time it gets down to running out of the mine floor, it's sulfuric acid, pH 2, and bacteria live in that. So these bacteria live in boiling water, they live in battery acid, they live in water so salty every other thing on earth would just implode on it, and they eat, some of them eat gasoline and natural gas. In fact, when we discovered them, it became very important, because when we have oil spills, what do? We sop up all the oil we can get, but we can't get it all. So what do? We spray this bacteria on the rocks so they can eat the oil and get completely rid of it. These bacteria come from locales, environment of what we thought the Earth looked like 3.8 billion years ago. Remember, life evolved here about 3.8 billion years ago, we believe. And what did the Earth look like then? Was there oxygen atmosphere?
No.
No. There was no oxygen atmosphere. Was it nice and, 70 degrees, bright yellow sun? No, it was extremely hot. There was a lot of volcanic activity. The oceans were actually boiling at times, and there was no oxygen. There was no ozone layer. And so these very bizarre environments looked like where these bacteria came from that were sent to WOS. So since they look like environments that we consider archaic or ancient, he named them archaeobacteria. He named them archaea. But most people get confused when you say, do you understand the archaea? And they said, is that your grandma? So we usually call them the archaeobacteria, so people know that we're talking about the archaea. He originally named them archaea. But when I say archaea, do you know what I'm talking about? But if I say archaeobacteria, do you kind of have a clue? So that's why we kind of use this name in preference over this one. Why did he think that these bacteria were the most ancient? Because they came from environments that looked like what he thought the Earth looked like. But he had not biochemically analyzed them when he published. And when he biochemically analyzed them, he found they were not as old as the true bacteria. Many of them had 80S ribosomes. What do you have, 80 or 70?
70. I think we both have 80 and 70.
Well, in your organelles you had 70, but in all your major ribosomes are 80S. Complicated cells have mostly 80S ribosomes. So these bacteria have mostly 80S. They can't be the oldest, because what comes first? Complicated or simple?
Simple.
Simple. So what does the eubacteria have? 70S. So they must be older, right? Do you see the logic? So anyway, one of the questions you're going to be asked on the test is, why did he name it archaea or archaeobacteria? And the answer is because he thought these bacteria represented bacteria closely related to those that first evolved in the early stages of life on this earth 3.8 billion years ago. But are they the most ancient? No. Why? Because they don't have the simplest parts. Their parts are intermediate. So they are actually considered intermediate in age. All right. So anyway, here's the last of the story. So if there are two kinds of prokaryotes and one kind of eukaryotes, how many kingdoms should there be? 3. There are 3 kinds of cells on Earth, so shouldn't there be 3 kingdoms? Aha, see, here you are, you're trying to shove that size 8 foot in a 6 shoe. What's the logic? Your mind says it's going to be 5. It isn't 5. If you're going to organize life, what's the best way to organize it? By the 3 different kinds of cells, right? There are 3 different kinds of cells, so there should be 3 kingdoms. Does everybody see that? Does the 5 kingdom make any sense? No. What is it? Observation and what the cell wall's made of. And is it a mixture of some are eukaryotic and some are prokaryotic? Yeah. So it doesn't make any sense. This is a better way of doing it. So Dr. Woese proposed the 3 kingdom system. Do you have any idea what kind of crap that stirred up? Think about it. All science books would have to be rewritten. All classes would have to be changed. All the naming, remember? It's based on the kingdoms. All the naming would have to be changed. Trillions of dollars. Remember, what's the world run on? Truth, love, and goodness? Or money? It runs on money. And when things cost a lot, do we like it or not like it? We do not like it. So, when Woese said, we need a 3 kingdom system because the 5 kingdom doesn't work, there are 3 different kinds of cells, so there should be 3 kingdoms, and he published his paper. Oh my God. All the scientific societies, American Society of Microbiology, all of these societies that run all of science, that are the authorities in science, met and had babies all over the floor. Yeah.
So who published it then? Because you have to get someone to publish it quick.
Yeah, but you know, he's pretty revolutionary, so everybody was fighting over who could publish it. But you're right. You know, usually if you're bucking the line, it's very hard to get it published. But he did. But here's the funny thing. All these scientific societies say, well, no way we can rewrite all the books, rewrite all this, do this, change the nomenclature. Oh my God, no! So they all went to him and they said, Dr. Woese, my goodness, 25 years in that laboratory x-raying RNA. Isn't that amazing? My goodness. Oh, you're such a, what would you say, extraordinarily characteristic, brilliant, nice-looking, gray-haired older men. My. Smart. By the way, you're not going to insist that all of science change because of this ribosome thing. And he said, oh, excuse me, I thought science was about truth. I didn't know it was about tradition and sticking that size 8 shoe in a size 5, size 8 foot in a 5 size shoe or whatever. I thought it was about truth. And the truth is there should be 3 kingdoms because there are 3 kinds of cells. Radically different kinds of cells. 3 kingdoms.